Good day, everybody. Rob Cairns here. I'm here with my good friend Rain, who is an independent music artist. How are you today, Rain?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too bad. So, you and I have known each other for a long time, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your background?
I've been doing music my whole life. I did all the musical circuits and I trained. I did a lot of classical training. And then I taught for a couple of years. And then I started getting opportunities for my writing and I just started taking off from there. And then the last, I'd say 3-4 years, I've been taking it very seriously. Um, and now I'm managing artists. I'm doing artist development for artists. And then I'm pursuing my own music as well. So it's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, I bet it has. And the independent music scene is a little different than what people traditionally look at, like the big labels, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the industry's changed so much in even like the last 5 years with all the streaming services, independent labels having a lot more pull, indie artists having a lot more pull, and the command of social media. So it's been really great and really different.
Now, we talk about streaming services. Isn't Spotify like one of the biggest supporters of indie music out there right now, from what I know?
Definitely, 100%. I have to thank Spotify so much. They really took my career off. My very first single I released, they put it on multiple curated playlists from New Music Fridays from all over the world,
Yep.
and Crate Diggers, and they've been amazing. They've supported every single I've released. So.
They're really supportive in a lot of genres, not just music. I don't know if you know, but they've even jumped into like the podcast reign big in the last while. So they're like an incredible company that's given a lot of publishers, whether it's music, podcasters, and others, another platform beyond the traditional Apple and other and Android ecosystems, which is really cool.
I didn't know they were into podcasts. That's really cool.
Yeah, they just purchased actually a company called Anchor.fm, which is what I use, and they paid in the billions of dollars range, and they said they're going to spend more money this year in that too. So they're making big reins in that as well. So which is really cool that they support all these independent publishers. They're trying to create the audio publishing house like YouTube is the video kind of thing. So yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah, it is. Why did you choose music? I know you've been in all your life. Was there a reason or something that got you into the music?
Yeah, so my dad was a professional drummer. He toured all through North America, and did that for the majority of his life. And my mom is a visual artist, but she also plays piano and guitar. So it kind of just made sense. Like I was put into piano super young, and I just kind of sang from there. I did do dance for a long time as well, and I've kind of gone back and forth, but music is my main passion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crossover between the two, I would say, with performances and things like that. If you look at somebody like a Justin Timberlake comes to mind as a big artist, he's pretty dance movie on the stage, isn't he? So I mean, there's some similarities there, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. My next music video, actually, which I'm filming in April, is the first time I'm actually dancing in one of my music videos. So,
Cool. Yeah. What do you like most about doing music?
um, it's hard to explain. Like the thing I like the most is just expressing myself, um, in songwriting. I literally cannot not songwrite. Since I was 11, I have to songwrite, and just how I get all of my emotions out, and yeah, it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Because songwriting kind of tells a story about life or what you're feeling or where your feeling is. I know from my perspective, depending on what I'm listening to on a given day, it's sort of, it kind of tells my mood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes people feel um, an emotion they might not even know that they have. So,
What do you dislike most about music, if anything?
um, I dislike probably all the advertising stuff and all the behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize that you're doing. Like I haven't released a song in about a year. I have 9 songs coming out, but people think you're not doing anything. But the amount of like paperwork and lawyers and curators and everything that you have to go through is a lot of work. So I wish I could just focus on the music aspect, but unfortunately, you have to be a businesswoman as well.
And what people don't realize is when you're in the independent music, you're in essence an entrepreneur. Music is just, and people kind of associate entrepreneurs with the business world and the tech world and the marketing world, but they don't really realize. And as that, you have to have your hands on kind of every aspect of the business, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. You're a CEO essentially. And a lot of the artists I manage, they can't handle that aspect at all. And that's why I'm there to kind of help guide them. It's hard. It's a challenge for sure.
What's the biggest challenge in managing other artists?
Making sure that I really listen to the artist while also giving them the best advice. Every artist I have is very, very different from each other. And they all have very individual needs. I have some, they like to take a lot of charge. They like to write their own emails. Some people that don't want to do that and they want me to take charge of everything. So it's really listening to that artist. And I actually love it, but it can be a challenge sometimes predicting what they're going to want.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, you almost got to get inside their head, I think, and kind of figure out what makes them tick, so to speak, right?
100%, yeah. Because if they're not happy, it can affect a lot of things. Like you put them in a deal they don't like or book a show they don't like. And it's not with their overall vision and what they're experiencing and what they want for their overall career. It can do a lot of damage. So, yeah, you have to really get to know them. It's a relationship, really.
Yeah. Now, we talk about booking shows a little bit. What's the typical venue for an indie show in, say, a city like Toronto? And Toronto is, for those who don't know listening, this kind of has a pretty diverse music scene with a multitude of sizes of venues. So what's the typical venue?
That's kind of a hard question because an indie artist can open for a big act and be on a very big stage, and then they can be at a very small stage to medium stages like the Opera House. I do notice like in the indie scene right now, like I'm talking to some of my artists and I'm thinking myself of doing like very exclusive small shows with like a slightly higher price point on ticket and making it more of an experience and booking venues that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So I'd say there's no real limit these days to a venue that an indie artist could use.
I love that comment you made, Rain, about experience. And the reason I do is I think live shows and music certainly and other forms of entertainment are all in today's day and age all about the experiences. It's not about just listening to the music because frankly you can do that at home, can't you?
100%. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of artists make is they do shows, one, too premature and they're playing little bars and no one really cares about them as an artist. And two, they're just going on there, they're playing it exactly like the record sounds. And it's just, there's nothing to it. There's no reason why they should come out and see your show. So you really have to make people feel what you were feeling when you wrote that song when they're coming to a show. So
true. I mean, I can't tell you, and you know, we have a mutual friend who loves concerts, and you know who I'm talking about. And and I've in my younger days I used to go to a lot of shows. I mean, I've seen shows in big venues, I've seen shows in stadiums, I've seen shows at Downsview Park in Toronto, I've seen, you know, small clubs. And the shows that I remember the most are all about that experience level. It's all about what they showed me on stage. And there's bands, indie bands, bands that I saw because the experience was so good that I never would listen to if I hadn't been through that experience. And now they're part of my entire playlist.
That's amazing. I have a similar experience with Panic at the Disco, who just made a big comeback. Yeah. They're doing amazing, but they never really went anywhere. But I didn't really know their music. This was before they really made it big with their first single, or around the same time it came out. And my friend bought me tickets for my birthday, and I was like, all right. It was a small venue. I think it was the Opera House. I'm not sure.
It's a good venue. Yep.
Yeah, it was a good venue. There wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't sold out, but their show was amazing. Brendan Urie's voice is like nothing else. Like it was like they had like people on stilts, and they had just like this whole, they really went into that circus vibe. And then with the mix of his amazing vocals, I immediately became a huge fan, and I've followed them religiously ever since. So it's a perfect example of that.
So let's go on to promotion a little bit. One of the things you touched on, and I know from having worked with you and some other stuff, social media is a big part of the promotion today. What works, what doesn't work, and how do you approach it?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that you found your niche. A lot of people want to appeal to everyone, and that just never works anymore. Before maybe, but now there's so much music, so many artists. This goes for any company. There's so many companies. Everyone now wants companies and businesses to be exactly what they're looking for. So when you go onto that Instagram page, you want to make sure that your vibe appeals exactly to the audience that's going to listen to your music. So that comes down to the colors you use, the filters you use, the type of posts you make, what you say. And then once you find that niche, you just really need to research other people in your niche. You need to research the other types of things that they like, and then you need to make sure all of your posts are in line with that.
Yeah. And kind of go where your following is. So if your following's on Instagram, spend more time on Instagram. If your following's on Facebook, spend more time on Facebook, right?
Exactly. And it depends on your age group as well, right? Like
Yep.
if you have a lot of 12-year-olds, definitely Instagram and Snapchat would be yours. If you have a lot of people in their 40s and up, you definitely want to be on like Facebook. So yeah, it's knowing your audience.
I would agree. Any concerns to you or your industry after the great big Facebook, Instagram crash last Thursday?
Honestly, it didn't affect me too much. It did make me realize how much I use social media, though.
Yep.
I was like, what is wrong with my Instagram? Oh my God. I thought someone had hacked my account, actually, because that's something happening to a lot of people with bigger numbers. So
I shouldn't chuckle, but yeah.
It was terrifying. I thought I was going to lose all everything I built. So, but I mean, yeah, it didn't affect me too much.
But it also becomes, it kind of shows, even in your industry, it shows that people need to find another avenue in case that avenue of support disappears, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, Lauren Toyota, completely different thing. She's not music, but she was talking about that, how it's kind of scary because she's a YouTuber, that if YouTube ever goes away, she hopes everyone will follow her, but she doesn't really know. So it is hard now in that way.
I think
hopefully people will follow.
I think the key is actually to take those loyal fans, and I think especially in the music business, creating fans is better than just casual. You want raving fans, right? And and I think what you need to do is take those fans and frankly move them off social media. I think that's kind of the object, and I think after last Thursday, more and more people are getting that notion and get them somewhere else, to something that you own, a website, something like that you can actually say, I'm on Instagram, but here's where you can find me, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good idea, definitely, like to make sure you have multiple places to reach them.
So you got I know from talking to you, you've been working on all kinds of exciting projects. You're working on a show. Can you share some of what you're working on right now?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time for me right now. One of my artists, Ray Young, he's actually an accomplished public speaker. I've been vocal coaching him now for a couple months, and we started writing together, and now I'm doing artist development. And we actually have a show on Saturday, and we're doing a reality show together, a documentary. I have filming actually after this. So that's really exciting. It's all about like reaching your dreams and at any age, and about music and industry in general. And then I have 9 singles coming out. At least one EP will be in there. I'm extremely excited. I write every single week, so I'm dying to get this out. And one of the most exciting things for me, at least, is that I am producing my own music now. So
Awesome.
for the first time, people actually hear the sound exactly like I want people to hear it.
Yeah, that's so important because that goes to telling your story or whatever your message you're trying to convey. You, in terms of the show on Saturday, is it a closed show, open show? Is it being recorded? What do you?
So it's actually being filmed for the reality show. It's kind of where the first episode of our show comes to an end, is at that show. It's actually an Eric Etheridge show. It's a mostly country show, but the artist isn't country. He's more Sam Smith, like slow pop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is his debut, so no one's heard the song yet, and there's not even a recording finished of it yet. So it's kind of his tester on the audience. So it'll be really exciting.
Yeah. Now you said you were working on 7 singles, or 7 or 9, sorry, and 9. And one of the things it used to be in the music industry was you went out and did a show to promote the music. Now, at least with big acts, you put out a single to promote the show. How does that work in the indie scene?
So right now for me, I am really focusing on online. I am developing my show, and I will likely be going on a tour after I release a bunch of my music. But times have really changed. Shows can be very expensive to do well. So I'm putting a lot of my money into advertising right now, and to music videos, because I really want to tell my story. But yeah, I think that I'm definitely going to do like an EP release, and I'll have probably kind of an intimate show, more of an experience than a show. I don't want to say too much about that yet.
That's okay.
But yeah, so I'm not focusing on shows as my priority right now.
Okay. What kind of advertising are you focusing on?
So I'm going to be focusing a lot on Instagram and Facebook advertising, and then Spotify and Apple Music playlists. I have curators through an independent label that I'm going through. So hopefully they like my new music, and they put it in all their playlists.
That's really cool. When you create, one more question, and then we'll kind of wrap up. When you're creating music, is studio space really expensive in the city, or are we seeing a lot of that coming down with the advent of equipment coming down? We know audio equipment's coming down. We've seen cases of people building studios in their home. Has that changed the industry at all?
Oh, it's completely changed the industry. All of this new music I've actually produced out of my house, just on my computer. I will be going into a studio to do my final vocals. But yeah, studio time isn't too expensive, because I actually prefer home studios. I love like the feel of just being in, obviously a high quality, but a home studio. And it can be quite affordable now.
And I have a friend up north who's actually built, and he does keyboarding, and as a hobby, but he sells some of it. And he's actually built a full keyboarding audio studio in his basement, soundproofing and all. And I just know, like, equipment's come down. I mean, you can buy professional grade mixers. They used to be a fortune, and now they've come way down in cost. And you know, even video mixers have come down in cost, and it's kind of changed the whole landscape. I still think you have to have an aptitude and a creative ear to do it, but the equipment itself is actually more affordable than it's ever been before.
Definitely. And it's, again, a lot more in the arms of the artists now. There's not a small amount of studios, and they're all kind of making the price very expensive, because anyone can kind of build a studio these days. You still need a good engineer and a good producer, of course. Yeah. But it's not even a big deal anymore. I know so many people with studios. Yeah,
so true. Rain, thanks for joining us. We wish you the best of luck with your career, your shows, your endeavors. It's an exciting time for you. How's the best way that people can hear your music, get a hold of you, find you, contact you, and so on?
So the best way is probably through my Instagram. That's where I have I post the most. I have the most followers there, which is Rain Over You Music. I'm also under the same thing. I'm on Facebook as well. And I'm on Twitter, which is rain_over_you. And my website is www.rainoveryou.com.
And make sure you check out Rain's music. Enjoy it. It's well worth to listen to. And have a great day, everybody. And thanks again, Rain. Thank you for listening to the SDM Interview Show. This podcast is a production of StunningDigitalMarketing.com, the agency that can help you with your web design, WordPress security, and digital marketing needs. Please subscribe to this podcast. This podcast can be found on Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more. Please don't miss the next edition. This podcast comes out every Thursday for your listening enjoyment. Until next time, please keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.